Visions of America are seen through every eye. Visions of America with spirits soaring high. As we frame our dreams, we have a common goal. Visions of America.
I'm going to introduce you to a gentleman who, like me, has been associated with Close Up for many, many years. Now, Joe Sohm has been called many things, some of which are repeatable here, even though we have a camera in the room. But, you know, a photographer is the thing that he's referred to the most, and that begins to tell the story, but it doesn't really tell the story, and story may be the operative word, because I think if you were trying to really distill this, Joe is a storyteller. The pictures are just part of the presentation, but there's a lot more going on than just the pictures. And if he's a storyteller, his story is the story of America.
Thomas Jefferson became the president. And the reason I tell you the story was, in just 3 weeks after that vote, Jefferson had to submit his inaugural address. It was then not a speech. He was not a great speaker. He wrote everything. He was a pretty good writer. And so when Jefferson wrote his inaugural, he said what is relevant to today. We are all Republicans, we are all Democrats, but more importantly, we are all Americans. And that every 4 years in these quadrennial presidential election that we invented, we come together and we renew the American spirit. And I cannot think of a better way to renew the American spirit, but leave the politics alone, to do it in images and ideas and music and songs. So that's what Visions of America is about, is a reminder of who we are as a people and what we share in common.
Thank you. Well said.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal.
So I get this name tag, and my name is spelled S-O-H-M, and this is kind of the curse of my life. I've spent half of my life trying to pronounce it for people or to spell it for people. Well, the good news is the guy had all the right letters, S-O-H-M. The bad news was I assume he was dyslexic because he had the letters in the wrong order. And being a macro guy, I didn't look. So I just put my name tag on. And it's kind of hard to see, but I'll spell it for you. It's spelled S-H-M-O. Honest to God. So not only was I Joe Schmo, I didn't even know I was, because I put this tag over Diane's tag, and for the rest of the next 2 days, people would walk up to me and stick out their hand and go, "Hey, Joe Schmo, what do you know?" For a guy that seeks to photograph democracy, for a guy that fell in love with America, for a guy that wanted to photograph the common man, it seemed perfect that Joe Schmo would be the guy to do it.
I wasn't born with a camera in my hands, but ever since I can remember, I wanted to be a photographer. By the time I was 5, I was snapping so many pictures with my imaginary camera that my father ended up giving me a real one for my birthday. From that day on, I viewed life through a viewfinder. With that picture, I fell in love with America. I felt destined to become a photographer and capture our 50 states on film.
Well, of course, you can't be photographing democracy without photographing presidents. You've also done that.
I've tried to do as many, quote, Republicans as I have Democrats, depending upon which flavor is in for which season. But I began with Jimmy Carter all the way to, you know, some of
these are would-be presidents.
Well, no, some of them are. The last photograph in the book, Visions of America, is Barack Obama. Yeah. And so once I got that shot, I thought this is a historical shot. I didn't know he was going to win then, and that's, you know, when we published.
I was just saying to you, this is a very happy book, and people are going to want to have this on their coffee table, Visions of America. Joseph Sohm, thanks so much for coming.
But in 1776, Lafayette said a phrase that lit my tree. That phrase, and I quote, was in a letter as a 19-year-old. The moment I heard of America, I loved her. Now, how could a guy in France that could fall in love with a British colony that he had never been to? But that's the hold America had in the 18th century on the European zeitgeist of the day. And that's the hold I contend today in the 21st century, that there is much to love about America. So back to Mr. Schmo. So on the eve of my 10,000-day journey, I had two lovers. Now don't tell my wife, she's not here. It was America and the camera. And when I joined these loves into a single project, that's where you have power.
Joe is in love with America, not just in that sort of thin, patriotic type of presentation we see, you know, where you put mass-produced bumper stickers on your car and, you know, make claims. In a very deep way, in a historical way, in a way that looks at both the promise of America and the challenges of America and the accomplishments of America. And he's one of you. Joe began his career as an American history teacher and was in the classroom. And he had the itch to have a bigger class, I think, and had this photography hobby and turned that into a career. Joe covered all 50 states. Every iconic image of America and then some that you could think of has been seen through his viewfinder. Without even knowing it, you have seen hundreds of Joe Sohm images. He is, I can say this with confidence, Joe is the most accomplished photographer of American iconography in the history of photography in America. But his images are published over 10,000 times a year, websites, newspapers, periodicals, TV and film. When I interviewed Joe at the museum about a year ago, and I asked him how he describes himself, playing off this notion of, you know, what do you call him? He used the term photo historian. And I finally had a term after all these years of knowing Joe that made sense. And so When he never really left the classroom, as I suggested, he just changed who his students are. I'm going to hold this book up, and it takes 2 arms because it's a weighty tome. Here it is, Visions of America, Photographing Democracy. Essentially, Joe's mission has continued to evolve, and it went from sort of photographing the veneer, the iconic superficial images of America, to thinking about the idea, photographing democracy. And that's what he's attempted to do in this significant project. Along with the book, it's the latest iteration of Joe's classroom work, his telling of the story of America. So without further ado, allow me to introduce writer, producer, storyteller, photographer, Joe Sohm. Joseph?
So there I was with the monuments in front of me. As the fireworks exploded over the city that Jefferson partially inspired, tens of thousands of images that I had taken started racing through my mind. I thought of all the skylines, the presidents, Macy's Day Parade, the Rose Bowl Parade, the small towns, the farms, where I grew up off of Route 66. And as the fireworks climax, I realized that for me, my journey to capture and to photograph democracy could never be taken as a single image. It could never be accomplished in a single iconic moment. Instead, my portrait of democracy would be a gigantic mosaic. If you think back to your art history and think of George Seurat's pointillism, that each single little dot, if you look at every single little dot, it doesn't tell anything until you back up and you get that bird's eye view. You look down, and suddenly all those dots start to come together and to create a larger vision of America. We are all dots, and the 1,300 pictures that appear in my book began as a singular vision of America. But the aha here, what I came away with, it's not my vision of America. It is plural because it's visions of America. Because you and I are part of that mosaic. So every time you take a picture, and when you go back home or in Washington, D.C., you too are photographing democracy.
We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America.
We choose to be free in America. We choose to work hard for what we believe. This is our time. It's in our design to succeed.
We have our dreams in America, a courage to try something new. Whatever it takes, we know we can make them come true. Visions of America are seen through every eye. Visions of America with spirits soaring high. As we frame our dreams, we have a common goal. Visions of America
Are found in every soul.
The day I set out to photograph democracy, I headed west on Route 66. Next stop were all 50 states whose flags and signs I sought to photograph. Back roads became my friend. but America became my lover.
There's a great quote from Crèvecoeur in the 1780s, a French-American farmer. What then is this new man, this American? And it suggested that there was this like new species. It's like going down to the National Zoo and saying, oh, did you see the panda bear? Oh, did you see the new American? The new American is walking the planet. He's different than the Frenchman. He's different than the British. But how is he different? And the difference is we're not defined by race, we're defined really by an idea. And although we have specific borders and geography that define our country, it's really a transcendental idea. So democracy is like a plant that keeps unfolding because it's a universal idea. It's not that we created it, but we certainly brought the ideas of the past into the future.
May I just say something about this Visions of America?
Yes.
You know, this man, Joe Sohm, he, for 30 years, has taken pictures of America. And from those stills, they're beautiful pictures. From those stills, they made a movie of the stills. And then Roger Kellaway wrote a suite based on the images. And then they asked us to write songs based on the themes of the suite, based on the images.
Okay.
And so now that, and Clint Eastwood has done the narration.
You got Steve Tyrell in there.
And Steve Tyrell and Judith Hill are going to be the singers.
If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then how many images does it take to frame a portrait of democracy? Soon you will find out when we join photo historian Joseph Sohm on a 30-year, 50-state search for the central idea of American civilization.
If you look close enough at the screen, you might see your hometown, the city you grew up, you might see the LA Dodgers, you might even see the space shuttle as it flew by most recently over the Los Angeles area. But you might also see yourself, because over these 30 years, I've been photographing you. And it's you who is really the subject of the entire presentation tonight. And I would be remiss, and in my Visions of America, if I did not complete it with a portrait of you. So with your permission, I would want and ask for your largest smile, because it's time to have your picture taken. Okay, is everybody ready? Give me your big smile. House lights up. Okay, always remember to turn the camera on. Oh, there's a whole bunch of you up there. Okay, we see there's somebody not smiling. I should get that guy out. And if you don't smile, Clint Eastwood's coming after you, as Dirty Harry. Maestro, let the more celebration of democracy begin.
Now, our chance is here. Our finest hour is upon us, and it's clear. Our challenge great, we can't deny. But the only way to win is to try. It's a new day of hope in our land. Now our destiny's here in our hands. We are the voices for tomorrow, and all our voices will be heard as we rise up together in unity. Our spirit lives in every word. We are the voices for tomorrow. We have the courage to believe. As we move toward the future, this vision that we share will never fade. We're not afraid to have a dream. Life is a gift that we hold dear, and we can all make a difference while we're here. So much depends upon us now, but through the eyes of all the children we'll see how, and we know that we won't let them down. There's a way we can turn things around. We are the voices for tomorrow, and all our voices will be heard as we rise up together in unity. Our spirit lives in every word. We are the voices for tomorrow. We have the courage to believe. As we move toward the future, this vision that we share will never fade. We're not afraid to have a dream. Opportunity for all humankind, with no one left behind.
We are the voices for tomorrow, and all the voices will be heard as we rise up together in unity. Our spirit lives in every word. We are the voices for tomorrow. We have the courage to believe.
As we move to the future, this vision that we share will never fade.
We're not afraid to have a dream.
We're not afraid. We're not afraid to have a
Back roads became my friend, but America became my lover.